Your best asset is your business. So the two-step process is let's find money that you're losing to taxes or other inefficiencies, and let's invest part of that in building out this infrastructure within the business that allows you the freedom to do what you want to do. The way that the taxes work is the first pages it says, this is why you have to pay tax. And everybody that's an employee pays tax based upon those rules. But there's a lot more pages after that that say, here's all the reasons you don't have to pay tax if you meet these qualifications and considerations, which as a business owner, it's primarily there for you. Most accountants get really in a place where they're historians. They tell you what to pay because they have a lot of people and they're filing for people. We need to add tax strategists that their job is to look at strategy, not file. And then they can help navigate all those opportunities for you. And what happens is we can immediately increase your lifestyle if we could save tax. That might be the thing that pays off some of the loans. That might be some of the money that goes to savings. That might be some of these things I said, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? We start to find that because my first objective with you is where can I plug financial leaks? And tax is one of the first places I want to look. You know, I would look at how your loans are structured, and if you have underperforming assets that might pay those loans off and improve your cash flow immediately, that's another place I might look. Or I might look at that 401k and just say, are there any hidden fees or commissions that are not really required that are harming your performance? Or look at your insurance design. Do you have duplicate coverages or improper structure? My first goal is efficiency. I don't want to come on here and say, you guys need to save more money. That's going to lower your lifestyle. That's not good. My job is the onus is on me to save you money, not have it come out of your pocket. That's the first goal. I think what you're looking for is two things, financial freedom and financial independence, and they're different. Here's how they're different. Financial independence is you have enough recurring revenue that comes in from the entrepreneurial income or assets to cover your expenses. Entrepreneurial income is the automated marketing that doesn't require you to do the lifting. Like, you still have to monitor it. Financial independence is having enough recurring revenue to cover your expenses. Financial freedom is a state of mind. It's a perspective where money's no longer the primary reason or excuse you would do or not do something. So money's a consideration, it's just not the consideration. So you're like, should we go to Italy or Switzerland? And if it's like, well, they're both the same to us, which one's lower price? Go to the lower price one. But if it's like, no, we love Italy, Switzerland's second choice, but Italy's a little bit more, you're like, well, we love it enough to justify the extra money. That's what financial freedom does, is it thinks value first, economics second, and price third. What's going to create financial independence? What's the specific path to get there? What's the asset class? What's your business doing? How would we have to make adjustments to that business to make it happen? So it would be really granular of how to achieve that. Because like, look, I didn't believe I could spend a summer in Italy in 2017 when my wife said in 2015, let's spend a summer in Italy. Because I was the marketer. If we're going to have clients, I need to be on stage. I made more that year, but it was the 18 months from the time we decided to do it to the time that we went that changed the business forever, because I knew that I was going to be gone. And in knowing that we're going to be gone, everyone had a different role and responsibility. And what we got really good at was marketing without me, to the point where within 2 years, 80% of the marketing happened without me. I was only responsible for 20%, and I sold the company, and now I'm 0%, and they're still marketing without me. So it created a much more sustainable organization. But it's also what got you there won't get you to the next level. It's actually the enemy of that next layer, because everything that was a strength to build what you've built is now what's preventing you from doing the next thing, because your habits are now formed and your systems are now solidified that actually rely too much on you, because it's what you're good at. Like in my other business, I even stopped doing the coaching. I saw like everything reinvented, and I could do this from wherever I want. I could be in Italy and do this, so it's totally fine. Like, I figured out how to make that happen. It's important to design it properly, because if we design it properly, then it changes fundamentally how you operate from that day, and you can actually create a system where you would never want to retire from it. It's just that you have the financial infrastructure to do what you want. That's what 5-day weekend's really going to talk about. Like my co-author, he was financially independent in his 20s because he just taught guitar lessons from the time he was 18, made enough money that he bought real estate. Then he was in a band, made a lot of money being in that band, and everybody else did drugs and he bought real estate. And then he just got to a point where he could choose what he wanted to do from day to day. And he's made a lot more money in that, but he never was forced. So he travels all over the world. He does weird adventure things. The book's more just an infrastructure. I don't invest the way he invests, but I love the framework that he built. Like, what you guys are going to figure out is what's your investor DNA? How do you like to invest? And there's 3 main asset classes that create recurring recurring revenue. And once we figure it out, which your business is probably your biggest asset class, that can create recurring revenue with a different design. It's just a matter of outside perspective, design a new game, never lose a customer again by Joey Coleman will be instrumental, because what we could do is transfer your expertise through intellectual property so that they're being educated by you through the entire process, which would fill the organization. 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. This isn't an overnight process. I was overwhelming to me to write my first book. I was scared to do it. I wasn't sure I was good at it. I did kind of suck at it. I had to go learn to write. It's not about overwhelming you. It's about finding the thing that you naturally do and capturing that in a way that's most natural for you. So for me, I like to speak. That's my best thing. But over time, I love to write. Now I'm a better writer than a speaker, but that took time. I'm not as good on video unless there's someone with me. So what I want to find is, how do we create this customer experience that wouldn't require you to be in person, but would still actually elevate your expertise? Because I have Killing Sacred Cows and because I have these books, and what we have to do is translate that expertise that people feel with you one-on-one in a way that moves one to many, and then all of a sudden you can travel. And it doesn't have to happen in the next 12 months or 24 months. It can happen over time and be something that's exciting and fulfilling to you, not intimidating. Here's the worst thing that you could do, in my opinion, is if we go, oh, those guys are really successful doing that, you guys should do it. And if you're not bought into it and not congruent with it, it's going to feel like effort. I hate the notion of modeling. Here's someone successful, let's model what they did, but they're different than who you are. That's not what you want to do. You want to do what you do. The intellectual property DNA is kind of the secret weapon of how do we figure out what you do best? And then we flip that into marketing that continues to put people there so that you could be, when I was in Italy, that's what I was doing. We already had the educational systems and we already had the client experience mapped out over that 18 months. So when I was gone, it was still happening. People documented Jesus's life, for example. They just documented his life. That's how the stories are known, whether, or we look at other leaders. We look at people documented Michael Jordan's life, it was documented. And so when you look at it, there's content you create and there's content that is captured. So right now, because this is new, it can all feel overwhelming. But what I'm going to tell you is we're going to cut through 95% of that noise to only what works for who you are and brings out the best in who you are. I went from my first book took forever to I've written a book and turned around. This book I did from the time I wrote the first word to the time it was printed was less than a year. But that's because I learned my process. That's because I had a team that supported me. I know because I've done this with over 100 people. And it was taught to me, and so I know how to facilitate it for someone else. It engages the right and left hemisphere of the brain properly with a structure, something that was taught to me. So but a book may or may not be what it is for you. What we're doing is we're saying you want to be financially independent, so you guys had freedom of time, freedom of location, and how do we get there? Your best asset is your business. So the two-step process is let's find money that you're losing to taxes or other inefficiencies, and let's invest part of that in building out this infrastructure within the business that allows you the freedom to do what you want to do. Whether that takes 24 months, 36 months, or 60 months, we'll only know based upon what you're comfortable with and creating the right system to get there. Again, it's your DNA. What are you willing to do? And what are the misperceptions and what are the realities? My first book was what are the 9 financial myths? These are a bunch of BS that if you follow these, you're going to harm your finances, but everybody tells you it's what you should do. It's kind of like allopathic versus naturopath, right? That's what my first book was. Wall Street's the allopathic version. I was going with the more holistic version of finance. So that means I don't sell 401ks. I don't. I could make so much money selling a 401k. I just don't do it because it's not a cash flowing asset. It's not helping people with financial independence. It has too much reliance on Wall Street. There's a myriad of fees. How will you be financially independent so you have freedom of time and freedom of choice and freedom of location? And what's that plan look like? We already know it's going to be something to do with how you operate in your business. I've done this over and over again. I have a lot of examples, but why I like the immersion is it's not formulaic, but there is a framework. Formulaic would be A, B, C, D, just follow this. Framework is what's your DNA? What are you not going to do? What are you going to do? What do you stand for? What do you stand against? What are you good at? What are you not good at? So it's individualized versus it's customized instead of just systematized. So we would build that out, and then I would bring in the relationships of everyone that's required for that to start to be implemented, whether that's video people or whether that's writers or whether that's tech people. But we would map out the plan so you're taking it in stride, 1 quarter at a time. 5 objectives, 1 quarter. Finding the 5 things that you're going to do a little bit less of so the 5 things that you do a little bit more of doesn't infringe upon your quality of life or your health. It is interesting that when you make that kind of investment in yourself, it tells your subconscious that you're worth it. So it's like part of the transformation happens at the allocation. But there's really three ways to measure worth. There's price, which is what we pay. A lot of people focus so much on price that they miss out on the second piece, which is cost, which is the economic benefit. What if I got you a more expensive accountant, but they saved you 3 times more in tax? They'd be a higher price, but lower cost, right? And then values your overall feeling of satisfaction, fulfillment, enjoyment, and clarity. So when you put value first, cost second is the economic impact, and price third. That's the key. And so yeah, you have these other options on the table that probably are lower priced, but they're also different. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.